This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. Hey guys, before we jump into our wonderful interview with Ainy Cormac that went for a very long time, we've got an exciting guest just jumping in to tell her about her book, V-Life. She has been on before. Honey Parker, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. So appreciate it.
Happy to have you anytime. This book is, I'll admit I haven't finished it. I'm probably about halfway through. I'm a very, very slow reader, but I absolutely love this book.
This book?
Yeah, that book. That book. So for those who haven't listened to the wonderful episode from last year, just give us a rundown. What is V-Life about?
V-Life is the story of Sugar Bernstein. She was a New York creative director, and at the beginning of the book, the love of her life is dead, and she reluctantly has been turned into a vampire. So she does what anyone would do. She takes off in an RV and tries to outrun evil and Jewish guilt, and has some success with it, and not so much with other parts of it. So, you know, she's on her own. She's got to figure out all the rules of V-Life, which could be vampire or van life, actually. And there's a whole world out there she had no idea about. And it's been interesting because some readers have said I shouldn't call it a vampire book because it's very much about being human, but that's what it is.
Well, that's cool. No, because you've got two sides of it. And look, I'm one of those people that love to do things differently. I've said that a million times. So a different look at vampires, even from a more human perspective or a former human perspective, is a really cool idea.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of logistics involved in existing that way, especially if you try to keep in touch with your family, which I don't recommend.
Yeah, I don't see that going down very well.
Mm-mm.
Well, I think that's a really good way to take, because, we're living in a world where at the moment, the zombie tropes all been done, 6 ways from Sunday. We've got werewolves are making a comeback. There's a new movie just came out called Werewolves with Frank Grillo, which I watched, which was actually really good. And then like vampires, as you say, I'm 42, and there hasn't been a time in my life where there hasn't been something about vampires in the written or visual media, like a TV show or a movie or a book or anything like that.
Right.
And I think I obviously haven't read the book yet, but in just your brief description there, it does, I think I can agree with that person who said, from what you say, it does sound like more of a human tale than an actual a human that just happens to be a vampire, but obviously, like you say, reluctantly, and having to navigate that whole world by herself, and just kind of picking things up as she goes. So I think that's as I said, haven't read a single page of it, but I'm definitely very, very interested. And I think that's definitely a fresh take, and that's what we need.
Well, yeah, thank you. It was a strange endeavor for me. I had never thought that I'd be writing a vampire book, but I did spend a couple years living in an RV. And when I did it, I thought, well, this would be like a really smart lifestyle for a vampire, because people wouldn't notice that you're not aging. There's just like a lot of day-to-day things that people wouldn't notice that you could kind of get away with. So that had been in my head, and I still didn't know how to tackle it. And it wasn't until I based it so deep in reality that it all made sense to me. So
that's awesome. Yeah, well, guys, you can go back and listen to the full interview. I'll probably put the link down in the show notes because we did do a deep dive of it, and I'm sure Ryan would want to have you back on again.
Definitely.
Well, the next book is going to come out, hopefully, I'm hoping this summer. I'm on my third edit now.
Okay.
Nice. All right.
So the next book in this series, and one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be on this show is I'm threatening to take the third book to Australia.
Oh.
Awesome.
And honestly, the only thing stopping me is I never write about a place that I've never been. And I've never been to Australia. And I literally yesterday looked at airfare, and it's a commitment.
Yeah. Well, it's a long flight too.
Yeah.
And it's like a Royal Rumble out here with the amount of animals we've got that can kill you. So, vampires will fit right in.
Yeah.
Well,
Just another one on the list.
She needs to get away. She needs to get far away. And so that it just made sense.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have to learn another language.
Sort of. It depends how far you go.
Yeah, I mean, in this book, in the second book, she's going into the deep south, so there's another language there as well.
Well, you've got two. What do they call it? Like consultants, if you need it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
Our last guest, she's from Florida, and we were comparing the alligators over there to everything over here and all that. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So where can people get it? Where can people buy V Life? Isn't there I heard there's like a special sale on for Australians.
That is it. There's a special sale on for Australians. And how many times you get to say that? BookBub, if you're familiar, if you know,
Yep.
BookBub is a really prominent book site. And to get one of their featured deals just doesn't happen. I've been applying for like 2 years, and I just got approved. And it starts Monday. It's going to be January 20th to the 26th. Going to be 40% off for Australians, just for Australians. That is the deal. You don't have to show a driver's license. Just go on Amazon. It's all on Amazon. And it's V Life, Honey Parker. And there's a hyphen in V Life.
No, I'll put that down in the show notes. So you guys, when this episode drops, you got about 5 days left. 5 days left to grab it and really grab it. Ryan will grab it straight away.
Definitely.
It'll be right up your alley, Ryan. It will.
Yeah, I love me a good vampire story, and anything new, and the way that you described it just got me interested. So I'll be definitely picking it up.
You know how in Marvel movies, Ryan, every movie starts with the villain at the start?
Yep.
Exactly how this book starts.
Oh, excellent.
I love that trope. I love that trope.
Thank you. Book 2 has an interesting tweak on that, on that setup.
Awesome. We'll definitely get you back on for that.
Definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, happily on Amazon, I'm up to about, as of the second, I think I'm 92 reviews so far on Amazon, and I'm at 4.8 stars. So people are liking it.
And the ones that didn't were vampires.
Like, don't give away our secrets.
Exactly. Divulging the ancient
so
secret.
mad.
It's Dracula going, you got my lore wrong.
So many facts are wrong on social. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. Well, thanks again. I'm sorry we can't keep you for long, but we'll definitely get you back on again.
Thank you so much for having me.
And like we said, we're here to support authors. So guys, if you're listening, reach out. Like, we'd love to do little promos and that, and especially to support, independent authors and authors that aren't a part of the big conglomerates that pump out the stuff that's, how do you call it? Like the same thing over and over. Formula. That's the word.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Honey Parker. Thank
you again, gentlemen. Happy 2025.
Yeah. Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Stories, the True and the Fictional. We have a great returning guest for you, but, if you've been listening for a while, we're going to get the promo out of the way. We've got our sponsor, Rebecca Cassells, for all those fans of paranormal romance and werewolves that aren't anamorphic. What's the term, Ryan? Where they're...
Anamorphic, you got
Anamorphic, right. Cool. Sweet. Those ones. She's also modelled one of the characters of Henry Cavill, so that's always a win. Martin Kearns, check out his series, Valor of Valhalla. They're all great books. You can buy my stuff if you want. Letters from the Emu War, Wedding Night Trilogy, working on a new one soon. What's been going on, Ryan? Been reading
Just living the dream, mate. Living the dream. You know,
Stop asking the
just same as usual. You know, just plugging along and reading a lot of books and yeah, keeping up with everything and getting back into a normal schedule.
Cool. Well, let's bring in our guest. He likes houseplants. He's got a question named after him. He is Ainy Cormac.
Hello.
How you going, mate? Thanks for jumping in.
How are you?
Yes.
I mean, you've both just gotten that out of the way. How are you? Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
That's all right.
How many episodes has Martin Kearns done?
4?
75, isn't it?
Right.
I think
it
may be 4 or 5. Okay, because he did one where it was just it was more of a chin wag. He came on to talk about gargoyles and just random stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it may be 4.
All right.
I think I've been on with him 3 times, so
Yes.
yeah, it must be 4.
Yeah.
Halfway there.
Because he was first to trial, because if you're on a 3rd time, I've created more questions, and they're really good for authors. So I'm kind of like bummed I didn't think of them like 3 years ago.
Yeah. One of the questions on here today has really stumped me. I was thinking it was stressing me out, to be honest. But we'll get to it.
We'll type it into ChatGPT, see what it says.
I did, and I actually did, because I was like, this is stressing me out, and so I did. But most of what it gave me, I'm like, nah, I don't agree. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, not good enough. Not good enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of, okay, Ryan, we haven't done these ones in a while. So how do you want to go about it? Do you want to go first? Do you want to go second?
Well, like all our meetings happen on air, so I'm just having a look at the questions now.
Yes.
I think I might go. I actually think I might go second and fourth, so you can start off with this time.
Nice and easy one for you, Ainy. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
This is a really boring answer. I actually wanted to be a teacher, which I ended up becoming.
Nice.
But not for the reasons. So, most times, especially when I was at uni, people are like, oh, this really inspirational teacher who just, she was amazing. And it just inspired me to become a teacher. No, I became a teacher because I mostly had I had this one teacher who was just a total dick. And I would get detention every Friday. So every Friday lunch for, 40 minutes, I'd just sit there doing nothing. And the reason he put me on detention was completely not so we had a homework book. It was a pre-printed homework book. And because we were going to be moving house, my mum had packed it away. And so every Friday I turned up without my homework done. So he'd be like, all right, detention. So anyway, I'd sit there on detention and I'd be like, man, one day I'm going to become a teacher and I'm going to do a better job than you. And so it was like a vendetta, like it's this vengeance job that I was going after, as well as actually wanting to genuinely become a teacher. So so I became a teacher. Apart from that, I think I did actually apply. I was going to go into the Air Force for a little bit, and I also was thinking about being a pediatrician. But a teacher was what I wanted to be. So yeah, got there.
You didn't want to raise up an army of children or something,
No, I mean that would have been good. They're hard to control, so yeah, got to sort of just stay out of the way.
Because what are you, primary or high school?
Yeah,
or
primary.
Yeah,
I teach. This year I'm going to be teaching kindergarten actually. But yeah, I've mostly taught year 1. So yeah, cool. 7-year-olds. Yeah.
yeah. Run them around and then give them a nap.
Yeah. Just wear them down. Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. And I love it. It's just there's different sides of who you are. So I've got the writing side, and then you've got the teaching side, and you got these completely professional and still professional, but a different kind of professional. But yeah, it's cool.
Do you ever read some of your work to them?
No, that's why I've got the pen name. Like I go under a pen name. So basically, the pen name is so my real name's Aiden, and when I was a kid, I couldn't pronounce my name, so I just said Ainy, and it kind of became a nickname throughout my childhood and stuff of being called Ainy. And then when it came to time to publishing some of these short stories and stuff, I was like, I don't really want to get looked up, so I just put Ainy as my name. And so it was half that, but it was also half like I guess a humility thing. Like do I really want my name slapped on that book. Like, I really want everyone to know that it was me? Like, I feel like hiding behind a name a little bit is, maybe a little bit more humble. And I've enjoyed that.
Cool.
So no, I don't read them. My my body horror short stories and stuff. Yeah,
you don't want to make it into a kids book for them, you know?
I think the last time I was on here, I actually did. So like I've been working on this series as you know, like the last time, and it was going to be 2 trilogies and a standalone at the end, which was going to be like a really dark children's novel. So it's like a dark fantasy for adults, and it ends with like a children's novel. And like when I say children's novel, I mean like almost like the vibe of Never-Ending Story, you know, where it's and those kinds of 80s dark, where you think about them now and you watch them. I watched them with my son who's nearly 3, and it's like, damn, like that's got some dark stuff in it, but it's so good. Like he loves it, you know. So that kind of so I love those just dark kids ones. Yeah.
Cool.
It's got hope and meaning in it. It's not just like nihilistic dread. Yeah.
Like
Anyway, that was
like The Road.
yeah, exactly. Like wouldn't read them The Road. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so question number 2: if you could have a talking animal sidekick, what would you pick?
Okay. I've actually got one of these in the book that I'm working on at the moment. And so I think I would just have to go with that. It's a rooster or a chicken. Male or female, I'm fine, whichever, but a chicken. In the story that I've got at the moment, it's sort of like this monk who gets turned into one. As in he's a side character, and like it because there's a sorcerer who has like dicky magic, you know, his magic's all broken and stuff, so he accidentally turns him into a chicken. And it's just like this side part of the story. But I think because when I was in year 3, so I was like 8, 9 years old. I woke up from this dream, and my dreams, when I have like really good dreams, they're so vivid. And I don't know if you have these dreams where you make a decision in your dream, and then for the rest of the day you're like kicking yourself. You're like, why did I do that? Like that was the dumbest thing. In my dream, like this like genie came to me and my friends, and he's like, all right, I've got 3 wishes, and there's 3 of you, so I'm going to grant you each wish. And I was like, all right, so like if I said I wish for a chicken, you'd do that. And then he goes, granted. And I get this chicken, and I was like, that's not what I meant. Like it was a wasted wish, you know. So yeah, I was always kicking myself over that. So anyway, that kind of worked its way into the story, and so an animal sidekick would be a chicken, I think, or a rooster. Yeah.
Do you know what kind of voice it would have, or who you'd want to?
Who I'd want to have voicing it?
Keanu Reeves, Idris Elba,
Matt Berry.
Matt Berry.
Yeah. It's over, April. Yeah.
So it'd be a very flirtatious rooster or chicken.
Yeah, something like that. Something that would like just give good banter.
You know what I'd pick? Just because the way he speaks, Christopher Walken.
Oh yeah,
because I think a chicken would kind of talk like this,
and he's like, he's got that kind of like he's always in these scenes where he's kind of threatening someone almost, you know. Yeah. And I can imagine a chicken trying to do that to someone.
All right, the funnest question of them all: your king, queen, supreme leader, president, etc. for a day, what do you do?
This was really hard thinking about, right? Because it's only for the day, so I can't necessarily necessarily change things that are going to stay for the whole forever. Like
well, in America, you executive orders, you know.
Yeah, I guess. That's that supreme leader, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go with what I thought up then. Even though now I've found that you can do whatever you want. I'd probably just take because I was thinking, like I've only got the day, like what would I do? My ideal day, I guess I'd spend time with my family and do something really cool. And I'm like, well, what's the one thing that I would never be able to do regardless? Like, and I guess it's go to space. So I'd probably, go to space with my family as president, which would be funny because I'm actually completely off the planet. I'm not doing anything to do with Earth, but I don't know. I guess there's all the really good questions of, solve world hunger, solve world peace, all of those, but you guys like selfish answers. So I would probably go and take a day trip to the International Space Station or something. Yeah. Not that you can get there in a day, but you know what I mean?
Well, see, I'm that selfish that I would, if I was, say, Prime Minister or President for the day, I'd just make myself President for the rest of
Yeah, right.
Another
Like,
4 years.
change the rules, or change the rules around.
You know, that's like the wishing for more wishes kind of thing. I'm
That's-
that guy. I was like, well, and they're like, you can't do that. I was like, well, I'm president, so I think I can.
Yeah, well, you could have a coup, organize a coup for the next
Yep.
day.
So that's what would you guys do? Like, because this was one of the questions that really stumped me, because I was thinking, like, I've only got a day, and I guess I could change the rules, but then that means, like, that's kind of breaking the rules, like you say. It's that wishing for more wishes. What would you do?
I automatically go, and this is selfish, because as growing up as a skateboarder,
Yeah, okay.
I would like outlaw, ban, get rid of, melt down. You know how they claimed back our guns way back when? I would do that with those Razor scooters.
Okay, well, that's not what I was not expecting that. I was expecting
You would give someone movie tickets for like every Razor scooter. Because didn't they do that? Like you handed in your gun and you got like 2 movie tickets or something like
I
that.
don't know. I forget.
I thought you were going to say where they put, like, on park benches, they'll put the little metal strips and stuff
No.
that stop you.
No,
You're like,
because
no, you're fine with that.
That's part of the enjoyment of skating. Like I went into the city 20 years ago. It would have been 20 years ago, and we went around looking for brand new buildings that had just been made because they had not put the skate stoppers on it yet, and that was half the fun, you know.
Yeah. So it's like the chase, the hunt for the.
And you just got to, with the skate stoppers at the above stairs.
Yeah.
You just got to ollie early. Come on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. No, I agree. Razor scooters can go.
Yeah. Just.
It's a really specific one, but yeah, I agree.
Well, that's the top of my head, you know.
Yeah, it's very specific.
I mean, I don't even skate, and I'd like to get rid of Razor scooters because they're just so annoying and so douchey.
Yeah.
But it's not even that. It's just the fact they're like pigeons. I've always called them pigeons because they flock together.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and
like
then
a rat.
you stand there and you go, okay, they're all over there. I can go now. And then you go up the ramp and you're turning it round, and then suddenly they're all there in front of you.
Yeah.
And then it's your fault, you know, because you collided with a bunch of pigeons that, shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, they are annoying.
Very annoying. I believe there's one in the city, a skate park, that says no scooters, and it's like council put it there. And I went, finally, the government did something good.
Yeah. All my tax money good for something.
Yes.
That sign.
Yes.
Where I don't even live. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I'd still stick with my answer. I'd still make myself president for like at least 4 or 5 years. You know.
Would you want to be though?
Yeah. I reckon. The first thing I'd do if I was president is I'd wipe out all student debts. Like that, I know it's very unlike me to be not selfish, but I know, like, I had my uni debt for freaking 15 years, and I never used my uni degree, so I figure it's just a piece of paper in a drawer somewhere. And even out here, like, I know America's even worse, but out here, uni debts are just absolute. And I went to uni. Like 20, 25 odd years ago, and it was expensive then, so I can't even imagine what it would be. So I'd just get rid of all student debts and just say, hey, here you go, guys, fresh start. And I guarantee you more people will be buying houses, be, investing in communities and, doing the right thing with their money rather than having to worry about paying off all these debts. And then I'd probably go around to all my friends, and if they had debt, like Chris, I'd wipe their mortgage. I'd wipe, just certain people. Not. You don't want to do it to everyone, because then it's like winning the lotto with a million people, like in Bruce Almighty. You win like $50. You know what I mean? Like, I just wipe certain people's debts, and then I guess I just have fun with it. I just like try and get all these weird laws passed, like. Every Thursday you must sit down for 3 hours and read a book, or every Friday night you must spend at least 3 hours playing video games.
What would you get them to call you?
Laws that would make sense to me that I would love to have, even though I'm 42, I still play video games every day. You know what I mean? Like, just try and get the weirdest laws put through, just so that they have to be in the system.
Yeah, well, we already do have 42,000 laws or something like that. I don't know.
We probably have double by the time
as a citizen, I don't know how I'm supposed to remember them all, but you know.
What would your Ryan? What would your title be? Like, obviously, with all these weird laws, you have them call you something like my overlord, my.
I was
like,
just about to say that. I was
Yeah, what
just
would you
about to
have?
say I'm going to take a page out of Chris Park's book, and I would like to be known as Overlord.
Right, beautiful.
Just
Overlord,
unashamedly.
just because you got to have that little bit of fear when you're in charge. You know what I mean? Like, I could
Yeah.
be the nicest overlord in the history of overlords, but I still have that title just to scare our enemies just a little bit.
Look, you can start today. The first person you've got to convince is Jamie here,
Mm.
and just change your name on the podcast to Overlord. Small steps.
That could be
Yeah.
like my
No,
pen name.
Well, then we'd have to call him Over Ryan for about a year, and then slowly add the law.
Slowly bring it in.
See, when it comes to that, I think student debt might be all right, but or, and this is what I'd probably do. I'd probably do the crazy Argentina president, and just tax a lot of taxes, get rid of all unnecessary taxes, unnecessary government agencies. That's one of my favorite videos on the internet where he's walking around the room going, "Wada, wada, wada, wada."
Or even just like do the right thing and tax the rich more and tax the poor less instead of doing the other way around.
No, they already do that. Like, talk to Chris.
Okay.
Never once a year when he gets his bonus, he's always like, tax.
Oh, yeah, true.
Tax. So he's above the threshold. No, I think either get rid of income tax entirely and just have the GST, or just have the income tax. Ease the pressure. There we go. We got a little political today.
Well, mine's going into space. That's the answer to my question. I'm going to space.
It's very weird.
I'm sticking with my scooter
that we get more political than the guests normally. We're like normally stupid shit, and not saying going into space is stupid. That's actually a really good thing. But like me personally, I never get political. I'm like, I'm gonna just like.
You've been hanging out with Chris too much.
I know too much talking about. I was actually talking to him for like about 45 minutes about anime last night. So maybe he's seeping through. Yes. You know what I mean? Like seeping through the political libertarian kind of thing.
Yeah. That's it. All right.
Oh, so my turn again?
Your turn. Yeah, I forgot what we were up to.
Okay, so I like this question. This is like in the first rounds. I like the sitcom questions, and this is primarily why I wanted to do this one. So what book or story would you like to see adapted to a film? And you get bonus points if you pick a director and a leading actor and actress.
All right, so
and you can say your own book if you like.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Like when it comes to adaptations, I'm usually not super big on them, even when they're really great, right? So, like I love the Lord of the Rings films, and like I feel like they're ones that just stand out as amazing. But it's oftentimes like I'll read the book, and part of me is like, oh, I'd love to see that as a movie. And when the movie comes out, it's always like, that's not exactly what I envisioned. Like it's still great, I love it, but it's not. It's just like you say, it's an adaptation. It's not the book. It's the book is the book, and then you've got the movie, right? So it's like Dune, like Dune and Dune 2. I love them. But then I think, you know what, I kind of want to go back and just read the book again, like, because it's different, right? So when it comes to adaptations, I'm not someone who's very much like, oh, I would love to see that as an adaptation. But last year, I don't know if do you guys know Gormenghast?
No.
So it was, so back in like 1946, it's pre-Tolkien. It's like it's a gothic sort of fantasy trilogy. It's pre-Tolkien, and there is a community online who consider it to be like the big fantasy classic that everyone talks about Tolkien, but actually it should be Gormenghast that we talk about. It's like this kind of big gothic fantasy. Imagine Dickens wrote a fantasy novel.
Wow.
But it doesn't have necessarily lots of fantasy creatures and big heroic quests. It's very gothic, but that's the thing. The first book of that, or the whole series of that, I would probably get that turned into an anime, to be honest. An anime in the sense of like, did you guys watch, well, any anime really, but kind of like how Castlevania, I loved Castlevania.
Oh, I loved it, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
that kind of thing. Because so the reason I'm choosing that one is because the way this book is written is really about this big crumbling castle, and the way that the book's written is very like structurally, and like you can see big chunks of mortar, and it's old and decrepit and all these things. And the way the language works, I feel like you couldn't film this as a movie. You'd have to just animate it, because the way he describes like the castle almost being skull-like in times. And anyway, so Gormenghast would be what I choose. I've also got a mate who lives down in Wollongong, Jonathan Weiss. He wrote a book called Molten Flux that I read last year. It's an indie book, and he's written a whole series, but I haven't read the other. But I read the first book. That's another one that I would probably get adapted. That's a very unselfish answer to be like an indie book, and it's not mine, it's his. But his is like I don't know if you've seen it online, but it's basically like this massive, colossal walking castle, almost like Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh wow!
But mix in Mad Max. It's like imagine in the world of Mad Max, you've got this colossal metal castle with guns and all kinds of stuff, and it just walks across this planet, and the people are just getting scrap metal to adhere to it. And people have like magic ability that can control metal. So
cool.
It's not controlled by someone that you don't know who controls it. Basically, it just walked by itself. It's the most original idea. I'm like, that's insane, dude. Like how you came up with that. It's so
What's his name?
Jonathan Weiss. Oh yeah, get him on. Okay. Jonathan Weiss. WEISS.
Oh yeah, cool. So
he's on my Instagram. But and Molten
stalk
Flux.
him.
Yeah, stalk him. Molten Flux is the book, but it's so good. Yeah. So those are the two, and they would both be animated.
All right.
Yeah. I find it easier to watch animated stuff. I think. So when it's
like 2D or Pixar.
No, probably 2D, and it doesn't have to be anime, just animated. Yeah. Sometimes I find it a bit easier. So I guess if I want to get some extra points, I'll just drop a director's name. Let's get Miyazaki to direct it. And an actor, I don't know, let's put Robert De Niro in there. There's an actor. So now I get my extra points.
I've been watching a lot of anime while I'm here at the moment. I just started, I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix. I love the Castlevania stuff. I've watched all of it and the Nocturna series, which is amazing. I started watching, it's based on a game that I used to play when I was younger, and I never pronounce it properly, but Onimusha.
No, I haven't seen it.
So it was a trilogy of games that came out on PS2. So it's basically about a samurai in feudal Japan that battles demons and has this gauntlet, which has been gifted to him by the Oni, like the ancient beings. And so he grants him extra strength, and he can also take in the souls of the demons that he fights. And I absolutely love the games. I've played them and finished them multiple times. But Netflix just brought out the anime last year, and I started watching it last night. It's only 8 episodes, half an hour an episode. It is absolutely fantastic, and I can picture what you're saying about that castle. I think in that it's the same kind of animation style as Castlevania. So as soon as I was watching that last night, I could picture that in my head, and I think that'd be the right style of animation to do it.
You know, there's another game coming out, Ryan.
Sorry,
they've announced another game.
Really?
Yeah, after like 20 years.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, I'm on board for that for sure. Because I always I really like I love the angels and demons stuff, but the whole idea of demons back in feudal Japan, it just really got me. And even though the games are so old, on PS2, I still they put them on the PlayStation Store, so you can still buy them. I still play them at least once every couple of years. Great story, great voice acting, great, just a traditional one warrior trying to fight through the armies of the feudal Japan. The way that they've done it, I watched half the season last night, and it's absolutely amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't played. I'll look them up.
I can get behind that idea. I actually I'm glad you took down that guy's name because I will look that book up for sure.
It was really because he sent me like, because he lives pretty close. Like I'm up here in the Southern Highlands, so he lives pretty close. So he just sent me a copy, like a physical copy, like last year, and it was amazing. Like, that's the thing with like all these indie books is like there's so much originality and stuff that wouldn't get traditionally published, because there's kind of no bounds. Like, I mean, even with the Smart, like you can go hell for leather and put whatever in these things, and you can find an audience, but this is just such an original idea. Yeah.
Well, me, I'm all about original ideas.
Yeah.
It's like exclusively, got to do things differently.
I'm tired of all the remakes and redos and reboots and everything. Just Hollywood's just just doesn't have any original ideas anymore.
Yeah. But look, I've always said, look, if you can redo something in a way that's completely unique or different, like, I mean, I like, the Robert Pattinson Batman, how whether you love it or hate it, it was different. It stood out from the other iterations of Batman,
Look, comic book stuff is different in my mind in terms of reboots. Like, I know there was a big thing about the Spider-Man reboot. Obviously we had the Tobey Maguire, the Andrew Garfield, and the Tom Holland all within 20 years. And I thought I understood why they did the reboot of the Tom Holland, because it had to fit in with the MCU. Like comic book kind of things, I'm okay with reboots because it's essentially like another writer jumping onto that comic series and telling their story. It's a character that's been around, characters that have been around for, like, let's face it, almost 100 years now. And it's just a different writer getting to retell that story. I'm more about like, movies that were made 10, 15 years ago and then they just redo them. I hate to bring it up again, but that Lion King movie, we had the amazing, the Lion King and Aladdin cartoons are my favorite Disney movies of all time, because that's the era that I grew up in. And then Jamie warned me not to watch the Lion King remake because he had to go and watch it. But as I generally do with a lot of things, I force myself to, because I'm like, maybe I will like it. And while it was pretty much shot for shot, from the cartoon one, bar one really good song, Jamie was right. There's no animation in the lion's faces. It's just, especially the scene, like Jamie said this a million times, the scene when Mufasa dies. In the cartoon, that is heartbreaking, and I'm not ashamed to say it's brought me to tears. In the new movie, like you said, there's no animation, not animation, but there's no the characters. It's not there. There's no emotion in it. And stupidly, again, I acquired Mufasa, and I thought, you know what, this is an original story based off these characters. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to give it a chance. And I really wish I didn't, because it was just a complete and utter pile of crap. It's purely just made for the kids, and that's totally fine. I completely understand it. But as a fan of The Lion King, I literally was on my phone most of the movie because I was that disinterested. And I watched the whole thing. I gave it a chance. I watched it from start to finish, and I really wish I didn't. And so that's it. I'm done with Disney remakes. Like, the only good one was Beauty and the Beast, which we've talked about, Jamie, a lot. Beauty and the Beast was an amazing remake. I went and saw that with my wife, not, again, seeing the original several times when I was growing up. I was like, it was her turn to pick the movie, and I actually went in and really, really enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, there have been very, very few. Like, I won't watch Aladdin. I will not watch it regardless of what anyone says, because Aladdin is by far my all-time favorite Disney movie. I absolutely loved it. No one can replace Robin Williams, and I think I've just given up on the Disney remakes, to be honest with you. They just cannot do a good remake if their life depended on it. And why do we have to have live action remakes? I mean, look at how popular the animated stuff is, the CGI stuff. Why do we have to have why do we have to bring everything towards technology? Like, technology is amazing for like the Marvel movies and everything, because it brings those characters to life. But when you had the original Lion King, which was such a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we need to do it? Just bring that out again. Take it out of the vault. But yeah,
Or do it like Milo and Otis.
Yeah.
Oh no,
exactly.
said Mufasa.
Exactly. But I think with Milo and Otis, I think they went through like 5 or 6 Milos.
Actually, if I ever have time on my hands, I mean, maybe retirement years, I'm going to get the whole Lion King 3D, the newer one, movie, strip all the footage or the sound from it, and just do my own voices. It'll be funny.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
In cinemas too.
What do you call it? Kung Pao style.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Nice. I could get behind that. That would make me want to watch it.
and it'd probably make more money than Disney.
And you'd have to do it in Aussie accents too.
No, they want diversity. I'm going to give them diversity.
Oh, so you're gonna do all the different accents.
Yes.
This is gonna get cancelled so quick.
No, well, with the way that culture's turning, I think I'll be safe. Ricky Gervais can get away with it.
Yeah.
No, Mister Mufasa.
Now, Jamie, you don't want to get us cancelled.
No, bring it on. We'll post exclusively on X. Speaking of X, the last question we've got for you. This is a bit of a more in-depth one.
Mm-hmm.
And so Elon Musk has perfected his electric time machine, and he's put you in charge of organizing a dinner party of historical figures. Who do you put on the guest list?
Okay, this was actually the toughest one because so I think last time I was on, it was about like where would I go in time, and I think I said the future, but my other thought was maybe going back and meeting Herodotus. Like Herodotus is one of my, I guess it's like a hero, I guess, but like in a lot of ways. So the first guest I thought of was Herodotus. I'd get Herodotus, who the father of history. And I think I just grabbed. I've got a list here. I had to write them out because I was just like, who am I going to grab? And then I guess I just get a bunch of like old, not to make the dinner party boring, but old Greeks, like philosophers and stuff. Maybe Socrates, Aristophanes, Homer. If he is one person, we don't know because we've got the Iliad and the Odyssey, and it could be written by a bunch of people. It could be written by one person. We don't know.
One way to find out.
That's right. That's one way to find out. So there's a few things we can. I got Homer here. Thank you. I've got props. But then my thought is I've always thought like I'd get Bon Scott, I'd get John Candy, I'd get Dostoevsky, I'd get Lemmy, the comedian, I'd get Lemmy from Motorhead, and I'd probably grab Alexander the Great as well, just to have a chat. So yeah, it's a weird mix of old Greeks and a few
random comedians,
some random comedians and a couple of musicians. But yeah,
would you bring the guy who voices Homer Simpson so he can talk to Homer as Homer?
He can voice Homer. Yeah,
Homer. I don't know who this Homer is.
I don't speak ancient Greek, so and
a translator.
Yeah, is there a translator in the room as well? Because Dostoevsky, he speaks Russian, so I don't know.
Well, we've got all these apps now where you can just speak into the phone and it'll translate for you.
See, I often think about stuff like this, like throughout. I don't know, you probably do this, but throughout my whole life, I've always thought about you get a bit of technology, and I'm like, man, I wish I could just take this back, and I wonder what like Shakespeare would think of this. Like if I had this phone, I'm like, imagine just walking back and seeing Shakespeare and being like, hey, look at my phone, dude. And yeah, I always think about things like that, just showing them, but not even like amazing technology, just like mundane stuff, like like a flushing toilet. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that Homer would be amazed at the fact that you can actually flush a toilet and stuff. Yeah. So I think it would really just be me bringing out all my stuff and be like, look at this piece of technology. Yeah.
It'll be a technology conference.
Yeah. But then again, I guess I've just thought that's just come to my mind is like, if they're historical figures, can I grab them from the future, right? So what I might do what I might do is grab let's say the Prime Minister from 2100 or 2500 or somewhere far in the future and be like, can you show me what your world looks like? Because if it's a dinner party, then we're all it's almost like you're time traveling across wherever. Oh, and my other thought was the guy who first milked a cow. Because I want to know what the hell he was doing. Yeah.
I often think about, and this is a thought I've had ever since I was a child. Imagine being the first person to ever poop.
Yeah.
You're like,
You'd be like,
what's going on?
What is that? Yeah.
Just like,
Okay,
there's
I'll
so
invite
many
both of
things.
them.
The first pregnant woman.
Yeah.
What it's just
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't
there's a
eaten
lot of
anything.
like, and I think there's a comedian, Dimitri Martin. He said something funny. He said, how did we decide, or who decided which animals were pets and which ones we eat?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, see that
Well,
bird, I'm gonna eat
were
that.
cats like worshipped in the Egyptian, like around when
Yes.
Cleopatra and Mark
Yeah.
Antony and all that? Cats were like worshipped,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of like they are now, but now they just still have that arrogance and
Yeah.
just
Well,
like we should be worshipped.
We have our neighbour's cat basically lives in our house. Because she'll just live outside. She lives out our front door all the time, so we're just like, I'll come in because it'll be hammering rain and she's not going in her own house, so we're just like, come in. So yeah, she lives here. It's our neighbour's cat, but we see her more than they do. Yeah, but she owns the place. So.
I think cats are the one animal that kind of does that. You know, dogs are pretty much they'll stay in their own yard, they'll do their own thing. But cats are like, there was a cat around where I used to live that I swear got fed by about 6 different houses and came up to, because we're cat people. Me and my wife have 2 cats, and it used to come up to our veranda and just sit there and look sad. And my wife would put some dry food out for it, but it was always huge. Yeah. And I swear it just kept getting fed by like 6 different families. And I think cats are unique like that. They can, they can go to different houses and still, just flop down and sleep and feel comfortable in pretty much anywhere they are. Where dogs are like, nah, this is my house, I'm guarding it.
Someone said to me, like, because I was talking to them, they're a cat person, and I was like, oh look, because we've got dogs, like 2 big dogs, but now we've acquired a cat. And they're like, oh, cats kind of choose their owners, like they choose who they want, whereas dogs, you have your dog and you're its master or whatever, like, but yeah, like cats kind of choose who they want, which I guess looking at these cats now, it's like, yeah, I get that. Like it really doesn't want to go to its own home, and it's the door's unlocked. Like you can go in at any time, but no, she just chooses, even when it's raining. Yeah, to just sit out the front of our house and be in our, like sometimes I'll like leave her in here. I'll just go out for the day and just come back. It's just it's no point. She'll only be back.
Yeah. Well, when we got our 2 cats, the first couple of days we got them, they were hiding. They just hid in the wardrobe and they would slowly come out, and then they accept you. And once they accept you as you're their person, my cats, when I was at home, they absolutely would not leave my lap. Like I'd have one cat that would sleep on me all day if she could.
Yeah.
And, they learn my car, and then as soon as my car comes down the driveway, they're sitting on the windowsill, and you know what I mean? Like they're very intelligent creatures. Not saying dogs aren't intelligent, because they are, but I think cats have just got that little bit of extra. I think it might be the arrogance, and it might be the little bit more intelligence going, I'm a lot smarter than you think I am.
She's right here. Look, there she is.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. As we're talking about her.
You probably heard us talking about it. So
it heard the word Egypt. I was like, Look, the saying. What's the saying? Dogs. You feed a dog, and the dog goes, "Oh, you feed me. You are God." And cats go, "Oh, you feed me. I am God."
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And then I think cats are our cats. If if my wife doesn't feed them at the exact time that they want to be fed, they would. One of my cats will just literally go and start opening cupboards and slamming the doors until we feed them. So they create as much noise and disturbance as possible. So we're like, okay, we'll feed you now. But they learn. They learn pretty. She does it every single day.
Yeah.
Well, if that was my cat, I'd be like, oh, okay, off to the home. Because I did that with the only cat I ever had, which I didn't want, but it was forced upon me. Because I played a cruel practical joke on my sister. Where I've told this before. I don't know if you heard this. I think the person I told it to was Martin Kearns. So
well, I'm slowly becoming him. So yeah.
So I think my sister and brother-in-law asked me to look after their kitten, brand new kitten. as they went off to England for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And they said its name is Dash. I said, is it? So for 3 weeks, me and Chris named it Leonard. We're just going, Leonard, 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 hello, Leonard, Leonard, and saying Leonard annoyingly all the time.
Yeah.
And then when my sister came back, she went, Dash, and it wouldn't respond, and I went, Leonard, and the ears popped up. It was just... And then they were going, it's your cat now. And then that cat had a complex. It would only use the kitty litter if it was fresh. Like even if it peed in it, you had to change it.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, and it was just like, I can't not just shelter. And then they renamed the cat. It was hilarious. It was an ad in the paper going, Harry just arrived.
Yeah.
I'm like, you've named this cat. Yeah. So I'm a dog person, even though I don't have one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were always dog people, and I'd never really been open to cats. But then the neighbour's cat forced its way in, so into my heart.
Yeah.
Clawed its
That's
way
the same with me. I was always a dog person, always had dogs growing up. And then I met my wife and we got our first cat, and I was like, okay, I can do this.
We used to have a rabbit. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Melbourne, and it was when we first moved down there. And my wife, she's like always been a dog person, but we couldn't get a dog, so she adopted a rabbit. And this thing, like, it was an indoor rabbit, and like it would act like a cat. Like you never knew how much personality rabbits have, man. You could call her, like you'd be like, oh, Miranda was her name. We'd like, Miranda. She'd like run across to you. You could feed her. She'd thump in the middle of the night if she wasn't happy, like kind of like you're saying with the cat. Like, yeah, she had so much personality. And you think of rabbits as just like, you put them out in their hutch or whatever and they just do their thing. But yeah, this thing was like almost like a dog. You could call her and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with rabbits. We had 9, like not all at once, but like over the years.
Yeah. Well, they'll get there if you leave them for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then
so quick.
We had guinea pigs, and they lived about a week because one died because the neighbour's dog barked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ours never lived long. Every time I've had guinea pigs, they've always like not long.
Yeah.
One time the neighbour's dog got over and just shredded them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
my old housemates had them, and they lived for like 10 years or something. It's just like, what did you do?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how did you keep it alive?
Have you seen in Peru where they just like grab them off the floor and just eat them?
No, not really.
No, because they're from over there. Like it's like they eat them, so they'll have them around their house. Like people will just grab them and yeah. You want some lunch? Yeah, like let's have a guinea pig. yeah.
Oh, that's so. Again, that comes down to the pet thing. How do we choose what to?
Yeah, I mean, we call them pets; they call them food. So
yeah, but it depends where you go.
Pets. Yeah,
just like I mentioned on the last podcast, we are the only country in the world that I'm pretty sure that eat our,
national
animals that are on the coat of arms,
and they taste good. Well, at least kangaroo does it.
Kangaroos are right. Yeah, I've never had emu.
We often have kangaroo, but yeah, emu. I think it's because emus eat whatever.
Yeah.
So it kind of the meat doesn't taste as good.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the last time I had emu. Have you had crocodile?
No.
Yeah. I feel like that's like when I ate crocodile, it was like it's like fish but / dog almost. Not that I'd eaten dog, but it felt like I was eating a dog.
I haven't tasted dog before, but well, I might have because I like Chinese food. But I'm just. I tasted crocodile a long time ago at Lone Star restaurant. They had like a tasting platter and had kangaroo, all of that, and had crocodile there. And it was actually, I agree. It's like for me, it was like a mix between chicken and fish.
Yeah.
One kind of, it had a unique taste. It was one of those, because I only got one skewer of it, and I ate it, and I was like, I kind of want more to get more, but where do you can't buy crocodile in the shops or anything. Well,
no, I've looked it up. There's places you can buy it frozen, like they ship it to you. I looked it up, but it's not super cheap, but also it is like loaded with protein. Yeah, it's amazing, but yeah, I don't think it's very cheap.
All those humans.
Welcome to the
eating...
What Animals Can You Eat in Australia podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, Ainy said he wants to go as long as Martin Kern, so...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what's his...
I think
what was the goal
50?
last week? I had the nurses knock on my door 3 times, so we'll see if we can get them to knock on 4 times before this is over. I did tell him 11:30, so I'm happy to go longer, but.
This podcast is brought to you by Martin Kearns and the Valor of Valhalla series. In the battle between two ancient evils, can one naive young man become the last hope against powerful creatures of legend? Beneath the Veil is the gripping first book in the Valor of Valhalla dark urban fantasy series. If you like reluctant heroes, infernal myths, and bloody epic clashes, then you'll love Martin Kearns' formidable foray into the unknown. So head on over to readkearns.com and grab yourself a copy of Beneath the Veil today.
If you want to go longer, let's just grab one of your books off the shelf and just read what audio book it for the rest. No,
Well, actually, we can do yours. You've got yours behind you right there.
Yeah, I got two of mine. No, over there.
I haven't got any mine.
Yeah, over that side.
Hey, you haven't printed any of yours?
No. I mean, the longest one I've got at the moment out is like 130 pages. And I could, like, so it was the one that last time I was on, it was coming out in like 2 days' time.
Oh, cool,
Yeah, but I haven't gotten a printed copy because I thought I released it, but I don't know if I explained it where it sits in the series, but it's a really awkward position.
Yeah.
So it's like, because I had this trilogy and it's like I wrote a prequel novella, and that's what I released last year. But the prequel novella takes place within like the last 100 pages of the third novel.
Yeah.
So it's not a spoiler, but it almost is. Like you kind of thrown
have printing over warning. Don't read this.
Yeah. So like if you read the trilogy, or if you read this and then the trilogy, it's like fine. Or if you read the trilogy and then this, it's fine. But yeah, it's an awkward position.
Yeah.
But I'm standing by it.
That's
it was
because with my zombie trilogy, I wrote 3 separate novellas, and then I thought, put it all under one book.
Yeah, that's what the old sci-fi writers used to do. Do a fix up.
And and at the start of every one, I go, or at the start of the second one, I go, you have to read the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I popped them out pretty quickly. I'm surprised. I mean, they were already screenplays, so I kind of just went side by side.
Yeah. But that would have been good because you've got dialogue. I think, I can't remember what I spoke about last time, but I feel like you've got all your dialogue there. So really, it's just putting in the descriptions of scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun doing. I kind of felt like I had to get it out of the way. Now the next one I'm doing is just it's going to be a slog because I want to do it justice and I want to.
Well, that was on my what was it? This the format that I typed up my own format for this podcast today, and I was going to ask you about Ancora.
Oh, cool! If you want.
Yeah. Have you spoken about it much on here?
No,
like
not
just
really.
Little bits. I've
just
only heard
bits
like
in here and
bits.
there.
Yeah.
I am actually working on a short film that's going to run alongside it, like a book trailer kind of thing, kind of set up the world. Yeah. So if anyone does do an adaptation of my book, this is the kind of feel it is. Going to be using a lot because there's a lot of creatures I've created for it, aliens and stuff like that will not work without CGI or expensive puppetry.
Go with the puppetry. That's always
like that. Or practical effects. I would want to. I know I've already picked the director if this becomes a movie. Matthew Holmes, if you're listening.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna watch his movie before we came on here, so I could be like, oh, watch that Bushwalker one. Not Bushwalker. Bushranger.
Bushwalker.
That'd be the most boring movie.
He would do a Bushwalker. Yeah.
Bushranger one.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd want him. 100% want him because he loves practical effects. His shark movie that he did was practical effects. They did all this cool underwater, like the what do you call it? The divers in the old school suits walking through the water, and it was all practical. They didn't put them underwater. They
Wow, is that on there too on Stan?
It's coming out this year sometime.
It's getting a wide release later this year in Australia, America, and the UK.
Nice.
In cinemas, and then I think not long after that, it'll probably go streaming too.
Yeah. Fear Below. It's phenomenal for those that like shark movies that are set in the 1940s with gangsters and Adam Wilson.
I'm excited.
Ancora's it's been a project that I've been working on for a very long time. The idea came to me in probably 2017 because it's when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, and that just went. okay, well, this is a game that's set 1,000 years in the future after the world's basically reset, and now there's all these robot machines around it. So originally I thought, oh, what if 1,000 years after an alien invasion where the aliens have colonized Earth, kind of thing. But then I went, no, let's pull it back a bit to about 300 years, maybe. You know.
Yeah, it's a really. I was sitting with my father-in-law he's really into Fallout 4, and we were sitting there together the other day, and he was playing it and stuff, and he's pretty much finished the game. He's just walking around and like just annihilating everyone. And Fallout, like Fallout's really cool because it's like that post-apocalyptic. But I was thinking, like, what about like after the post-apocalypse? Like, when it's all died down, when all of the you're not just living in hovels made out of rubble, but you're actually starting to rebuild society and civilization.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a really interesting place. Like Fallout's really great as well, but I feel like just moving just a bit beyond that, would be just to see what kind of cultures come out of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've done.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited.
It's more so that we had an alien invasion. I'm probably going to have to do a prequel because when you create a map and you go, I'm really, really trying hard not to make this character go to every single place on the map.
Yeah.
So I figured I'll make hers more direct, and then I'll create probably a prequel because alien invasion, we lost. Then there was a rebellion. The rebellion failed, and they found out along the way that there's a mountain range where the alien tech does not work. They can't fly ships over it. Their guns don't work. Like, so society's moved out there, and they've created these tribes. And then short time after that, these aliens come in on foot, adopting primitive methods like swords and crossbows and that sort of things, and start hunting down people.
That's cool too, like removing some of the like the technological advancements, because that can get way too out of hand. So stripping it back to being almost swords and shields. And
but at the same time, humanity's like the morale is virtually dead. They're told, and there's an element of truth to it, that these aliens can't be killed. Like, you kind of lock them in. They can't. Some of them communicate telepathically, and I wanted a deep dive lore through all these different aliens. So I'm going to try and put as much ethology in there as well to keep it grounded.
Yep.
But it's basically there's a tribe it's basically the first tribe that was ever formed. Was destroyed. It was the only tribe that had old school elements like writing, the stuff of the old world, talk about movies, talk about, books and all that stuff. Yeah. That was the only tribe that was still doing that. And then that tribe gets destroyed, but 2 survivors flee to the southern part of the region, I guess. And it's just a husband and wife, and they have a family there, and they're kind of training them in the ways of the first tribe and protecting them and not trusting these other tribes because there's something sus about them. And then this character, her family gets killed, and she's on her own, thrown into this world that she's been told about but never really lived in, and she's got to try and find hope, I guess. She's kind of following her father's footsteps while he was tracking down a historical figure who was searching for a way to defeat the aliens and then disappeared. So
you've really like moved on. Like it's cool. Like you've got the apocalypse, and you've got like civilizations after it, like the tribes, and then you've even moving beyond that. That's awesome. Yeah. That's
the general feel of it, and it's been a work in progress because I keep coming to it and I go, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know about it. And then now I just did this deep dive. Like, I read War of the Worlds. I read The Road recently as well. So I'm kind of getting this. I want to make it really like The Road, in the sense that it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But I want a bit of, just a small bit of hope in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, The Road is like, especially the way that The Road is written, where it's like, it's almost dehumanized because it's so short sentences with no fancy language. It's all like, it was ash, it was grey, the boy walked,
Yes.
Dehumanized completely. So, but you want to get a little bit of heart and hope in there.
Yeah. That's basically the premise. I've created my own types of aliens. I've created these things called Nabucks that are werewolf eagle hybrid. that kind of they're like kind of like pack hunters. Like, so they've got a master. Only one alien uses them, and they kind of hunt people down, and
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been a lot of fun. Been a lot
That's
of fun
cool.
creating that. But
I'm excited.
8,000 words in.
Yeah. How long are you thinking? Like it's going to be a big thing, or
As long as it takes. But
as long as it takes? Yeah.
But I've got plots pointed out, like key things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be anywhere between 70,000 to 100,000 words, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm working on this short film at the moment as well, just to drum up some interest. See,
Yeah. Yep. Get the tension. Everyone
Yes.
wanting it. Yeah.
Yes, that sort of thing. And
Yeah. Oh, that's
hopefully-
exciting.
Yeah, but that's my project. That's all I'm going to be working on at the moment.
Yeah. I can't wait.
And then probably we'll do a prequel.
Probably, definitely.
Probably, definitely, which will be probably
Definitely.
definitely something to do with the alien invasion itself.
Yep.
How we got there. Because I could follow other characters, but they would have the exact same fate as the first character. Like, it would have the same ending.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like,
You want to get something interesting, like a
Yeah.
different take. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's a bit like, when you watch like The Walking Dead was like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
it can only be so much. Like, it's the same thing over and over. It's like they find a place, it gets overrun, they move on to
Yeah.
the next place, it gets overrun. They move,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Until it gets to I guess you would get to a point where the threat has to change. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
I guess it's not interesting, like narratively wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all I can think of. I think I have to go back and
Mhm.
show what happened.
Yeah.
Because there will be some twists. There will be it's a whole different look at aliens.
Yeah.
More
That's
grounded
good.
and different perspectives. But I've enjoyed doing it.
You could do the Halo thing and make the alien good. Where was it Halo 2 or 3 where you've got one of the Arbiter or whatever?
No, I have been toying with the idea of initially, because there's a rebellion, but then there's an invasion of us humans just going, oh, cool, come on, yeah, take over. Like, just a almost like a willful surrender. It's like, we are so screwed. You're saving us.
Yeah. Or you have like a presidential election and they vote for the alien.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get like 20 billion votes.
Yeah. From the cosmos.
Yeah. That's it. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough on me. What are you working on? I saw you put a post out about something called "Prepare Me for a Shallow Grave."
Yeah, so that's all right. So last time I was talking about the Cyrilli arc, which is like, I guess it's like, it's the series, like it's a loose term. What I was thinking of, like you've got Tolkien and he wrote like the Lord of the Rings and he's got the Hobbit and he's got the Silmarillion and there's other little disparate pieces of work and it's all kind of collectively in the same world.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like you've got a series title. That's kind of like what I was getting at, where it's like these stories that are kind of like, they're connected, but they're not necessarily, you don't have to read them all. Like you could just read the Hobbit, like with Tolkien, you could just read the Hobbit and never read anything again and you'd get a perfectly fine story, or you could go and jump into the Lord of the Rings or whatever. And so it was going to be like a trilogy and then another trilogy and then a standalone. And I was still writing it in that way, but from the outset, I was going to basically, I'm writing this first trilogy, and last time I spoke to you, I was writing that trilogy, and I'm still writing that trilogy, but I'm currently in my mindset, which I've been thinking for about maybe 2 years, of just condense it into one book. So instead of like doing a book release, go through the whole publicity thing, and then write the next one, and then release that, and then write the next one and release that, I was just going to put them all into one book, and it's just a big ass novel. And so Prepare for Me a Shallow Grave is the name. It was going to be the name of the first book. But I think just the whole book's going to be called that. So it's not necessarily like a new story or a new book or anything. It's what I was working on already, just put into one thing. So
cool.
In some sense, I think I'm sort of shooting myself in the foot with like publicity. Like, if you have a trilogy, you can like make it big and then do a cover reveal for the second book and then the third book, and you can have like releases, and on top of that you can get more money because you've got like you can sell each book. But the thing I think that was tripping me up was that so back in 2023, I wrote the first book and it's done. Like it's still edited. I'm still editing it, but it's done. Like the draft is done, and I'm halfway through the second. But because I was writing a trilogy, I was getting tripped up with like, where do I put? Because I know what's going to happen because I've been doing this since like 2016. I'm like, where do I put this moment or this bit of lore, or where do I? So I was like, should I put that in the first book, or should I put that in the second, or should I save that till the end? And then the other problem is like, getting to writing the third book, and then you're like, oh, I should have put this in the first. Like, so anyway, I was going to write the whole trilogy and then start releasing, and that's how I'm going to do it. But instead of releasing it 1, 2, 3, I think I'll just release it as one big novel. Called "Prepare for Me a Shallow Grave."
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It's a dark fantasy novel about a jaded and reluctant mercenary who's been alive for 500 years.
Wow.
Because he's been cursed. He was cursed as a child, so he saw a young girl that he liked, and so he went and saw like a blood witch and said, "Hey, can you make me handsome?" And she's like, "Yeah, I can make you handsome to everyone." So he's kind of got this curse where people see whatever they want to see on him. So he's not really been seen. People just see their ideal, which he uses to his advantage. Like he takes advantage of it over the 500 years, but it's a torment as well. And so he's kind of enslaved to this blood witch. And so the story is just kind of following him as he kind of tries to loosen the shackles and get out from under her.
Sounds like a great book to read to your kindergartners.
Yeah, that's what I was. And I'm really hoping to get it done soon so that I can read it to them, because it's going to be a thick book, So, like, I'm looking at over 300K at the moment. So, yeah. So,
hey kids, let's talk about blood magic.
Yeah. Let's talk about blood magic, and he's also got this thing. So he dies, but he can be, because he's owned, he's possessed. He gets reborn. So like he'll get injuries, but they'll heal. But the more they heal, like the more he gets injured and heals, the more he's kind of on her radar, because she's got multiple fingers in the pie, So he obviously tries not to get hurt too badly. But yeah, as the story goes on, he by the middle book, man, he's getting chopped up. He's losing bits of his body. Yeah.
Are you playing with the whole separate the body, put it at different parts of the?
Well, I mean, I don't know how many spoilers we'll go into, but like at one point, like he gets executed at one point, and his body's stuck on a pike, but his body regrows out of his head, basically.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So are you toying with the question that they always ask about Deadpool? If Deadpool got his head cut off, would he grow a new head or a new body?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or would there be two?
I guess I went with well, he I think this is because he gets injected with like this anti-magical the land has I think I mentioned last time that the land was a goddess. It's a dead god, and her blood was like this magical stuff called Kypris. But it can be corrupted to kind of cancel out magic, so he gets pumped full of that, and then they execute him, so he can't be brought back. But there's a workaround, so it comes out of his head. Yeah.
May have talked about this last time, but like when's it set exactly? Is there a timeline that you've put it in, or?
Well, it's in like a fantasy world. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But it's set. Well, it's hard to explain. It's okay. All right. So it's like
how's the technology? Because you mentioned injection, so I'm wondering like.
Right. So the technology is kind of anachronistic at times. So it's like, I guess you would say like it's a medieval setting, but it's not really. It's like a magical medieval.
Okay.
But they exist within this mist. And without the mist, so outside of the mist, the world is going on technologically. So there are technological advancements. Like, for example, it's kind of alluded to that there are basically spaceships in the desert that so the desert's like completely radioactive because these ships have crashed and made the whole place radioactive. So yeah, the tech is sometimes anachronistic, but I think it's just fun to play with, being like there's swords and spears and stuff, and then all of a sudden there's like basically a dragon with a cannon strapped to its front, firing lasers, eviscerating people. Yeah.
That's really good. So where'd you get the idea from? Like, do you remember when you came up with it?
The first idea, I think, because I was gonna like, it's probably 2015. I was thinking like, what would my fantasy story be like if I wrote a fantasy story? And I think I was probably reading Game of Thrones at the time,
Yeah.
and like you start building pieces like characters and stuff. But then I think it was something like the Hound, like the Hound from. I was like, a character like that, I would just want to follow him, and so that's how this kind of came about. And so made this whole massive like multiple POV, multiple people like all these different people. But there's this one character who just sort of stood out, and I was like, I just got to follow him. So he got his own trilogy, and that's this character Garland. He just has his own trilogy. And then over the years, I guess, just reading different bits and pieces, and I think that's where the map thing came from. Of being like, I think reading different bits of fantasy and stuff, and getting a little bit frustrated with people's reluctance to accept different stuff. Like, it's because it's a fantasy world. Like, sometimes you kind of, I think, have to. I think things should be a bit more fluid. And that's not, as much as it's like not to say that anything can happen. I think I really love magical realism. So magical realism where it's like magical things happen, but it's almost just explained in a completely mundane way. So so that was a bit of an inspiration for it. But yeah, just bits and pieces over the past 9 years. I'm like, oh, that'd be good. Let's throw that in, and let's throw a spaceship in. Let's throw radioactive poisoning, like radiation poisoning. Let's throw that in there, like all these things. Yeah.
Did you ever find yourself going like starting to write it? Because this is what I felt with Encora, like starting to write it, and then you have an idea, and then you have to go back and re-edit stuff and to add stuff.
Yeah, I have like I've actually just literally last night. I didn't get to bed till like 1 because I was like, I'm compiling this into one full big Scrivener document. I've gone back to Scrivener now. Of like all of my notes across like Google Docs and Word and wherever, all my notes for the trilogy, I'm putting them all into one spot because I'm going to make it into one big book. But yeah, like you'll be getting partway through and you're like, oh, I should have put this at the start. Yeah, totally. It happens.
I've now, as I'm writing, I've got like a what do you call it? Like a graph almost, like, and it's got the chapter, who's in it, what's it about, tweaks, and I'm constantly adding up. Oh, next time I cycle through, go back to this, change that.
I have a document called like do this before editing, and it's basically a list of like changes. I'm like, make sure this character does this, or this character needs to be built like that. Just like bullet points. But yeah, I think too. Also, like I read a book once called The Pursuit of Perfection by Christine Catherine Rush. She's a writer, and it's only 70 pages. It's basically a bunch of her blog posts put together into a book, but it's really about like perfection, the perfect book, and essentially how like the perfect book doesn't exist. There's no such thing, because if there was a perfect book, everyone would be reading the same book and loving it. But you get a book like whatever popular book is out now, and half the people love it and half the people are like, it's pretty crap. So there's no such thing as a perfect book. And so this book was all about taking off the pressure of trying to write a perfect book. She uses A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare as an example, because the story has like 5 different endings, or Lord of the Rings. Even you watch that film, like the book has it too, but you watch the film and it's, people make fun of it a bit because it has like 6 endings, and if you took that to a writer's group or like a writing class, they'd be like, you need to chop half these endings out, like it's got too many endings. But the fans love it, like, so something about it works. So I think when you think about like having an idea come up and you're like, oh, I should change that, sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'll just save that for later. Like, good ideas can come and I'll use them whenever, because as much as I want this to be great, also like, I know it's not going to be perfect, so it is what it is.
Oh, it's got to be perfect for you in the end. I mean, that's my method, is I write for myself. If people love it, great. But I just, too many ideas come to me. I've got to get them out there. And that's why when all these, book marketers inbox you and like, oh, we could promote your book. How are your book sales going? I'm going like, don't know, haven't looked.
I don't look. I don't look at the reviews. I don't look at any of that. I'm not interested.
I just point them to my first book, Emu War, which is, I get lots of schools just buying class sets and that. I'm going like, see, success. There. So it's like lots of people buying it. Martin Kearns, is, last I heard, was working on a study guide because he's teaching it to his kids in New York.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that, but I'm like, I just write for myself.
I think you have to set your own success a little bit, you know, like what do you consider? And I think Stephen King said, like, what do you say? If you've written something and someone has paid money for it, I consider you talented, something like that. Like, you know, it you don't have to be this amazing bestseller. It's like, it's at the end of the day, if you're writing for you.
One of my favorite stories from about my book is there was a lady down the road from me, run into her every now and again when I'm out for a walk. And she said that she's got like a sister, I think sister up in Northern Territory, who said, "Oh, I read this really good book. It was like about the Emu War. It's all letters and all this stuff." And then she's like, "The author lives down the road from me." You know, I like hearing stories about that. Like, you know, people that you don't even know have read it and randomly tell someone. And, you know, it's like, I love stories like that. Like that's, you know, that's, I view that as a success because that was the first book I'd ever written. I was never going to get into writing. I just thought, well, the movie didn't happen, so let's write a book, and then, success. Like, you know, and I ain't even trying. You know, it's just like,
I didn't even try it.
You know, but
sassy.
It's luck. It's, to me, it was
a
whole lot of luck.
That's cool.
Like, you know.
Yeah. So, and I think there's like a lot of pressure as well. Like, so with writing the trilogy, I've spoken to people who have done, because, you know, it's popular to do a trilogy as fantasy, right? And I was like, some of my favorite. So there's a book called The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, and the way it was written, he wrote the whole trilogy and then released them, right? So that's what I was thinking. And I was like, oh, maybe I should do that. And a lot of people I've spoken to have said, do that, because the thing is, once you release like the first book, then you've got to go onto podcasts, you know, then you've got to go and publicize it. And then you've got the pressure as well of all these reviews in the back of your mind while you're trying to write the second one.
Yeah.
You know, and you're trying to almost not beat yourself, but be just as good as what you were. So that's why I was just going to try and write all three at once. Yeah. And like you say, with having ideas, like I've got so many other ideas, I kind of just want to get it done and not rush it, like do a good job, but I think do just a really good quality, like that's the story done, and then move on to the next thing. Because otherwise you can spend all your life on the one thing. I think a little bit like those pulp writers, like get it done, get it out, and then move on.
Yeah. It's kind of like what I want to do, because that's I really struggle with writing everything at once and go, okay, now I'm going to release these at different times. And like, I just want to release it now.
Yeah,
you know, like that's really hard.
Yes, and that's kind of like this. It's like, and I know from like, I guess, a business perspective, it's like it's a terrible decision to put it all as one book, because I could be making 3 times as much, or I could be like advertising it 3 times as much. But I also feel like, and this is a weird thought that I often have, is in the case of an apocalypse, right? You're walking through this post-apocalyptic world and you see just the second or third volume of my trilogy, you're not going to read it. Like you're like, I don't know where the story begins. So I feel like having, at least if it's all in one bundle, it's like, well, there you go, I've got the complete story. You know, it's kind of I'm helping out the reader. So it's all in one spot, instead of being like, I've got the third of 3. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to go and read something else. Just in case.
The amount of times I've been in a bookstore and, you know, I'm like, okay, I want to get this, because I'm a big fantasy reader. I, you know, read a lot of David Eddings, which is like 6 or 7 books in a series. And even though I've read them before, I go in, okay, I want to get a copy of this. And it's like book 3 of 6. And that's all they've got. Or book, 3, 4, and 5 of 6. And I was like, well, what's the point? Because I need book 1 and book 2 to start, and then I just go, well, I'm not going to buy it. And you know what I mean? I'll go and find it somewhere else, or it might be like trying to get my favorite story of his was the Belgariad, and that was a 5-book series. Trying to track those down, even on Amazon, it took me, I think, like 5 years to get a complete set. Because I was buying book 1, I bought book 1 here, book 2, and then trying to find different places. And you're right. If you've got it all, I know it might seem silly in terms of financially and like you said, a business acumen, but at least the person's going to get the full story and not going to have to shop around and try and
and I think it also
complete it.
Like just being able to hold it and be like, that's it. Like it's all complete. It's in one piece. Whereas, like you say, with like some of these, I feel like sometimes with series, it depends on the writer, but I feel like each volume within a series needs to be a complete story as in itself. You know, I'd hate it to be like a trilogy where if you the middle book, okay, going back to Lord of the Rings, it's like Lord of the Rings was written as like as a book. It was because of the publisher that it got broken up. And if you watch the movies, you're like, oh, it works perfectly as good as a trilogy. But if you look at the book, it's actually because Boromir dies, spoiler, at the beginning of the second book. Like that's where they cut it. So it's like it's not a great, I don't think structurally good place to put his death. Like the beginning of the second volume is where he dies. So I feel a little bit like that with some of these fantasy stories where you've got like a trilogy.
Yeah.
And if each volume in the trilogy isn't a complete wrapped up story or a complete story at least that has a full arc, it's got cliffhangers, it's got pieces left over, and it's I'd rather have just a complete chunk.
I know exactly what you mean. I don't think I'll ever be able to do trilogies, and if I do, they'll all work as standalones, you know?
Yeah, where you can jump in at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I'm getting at here. Was sort of like my original plan was like 2 trilogies and a standalone, and I'll probably still do that, but it'd just be that the 2 trilogies are just really big books. So it'll be a trilogy essentially. But you can jump in wherever. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm planning to get it done by the end of this year.
We might be on the same schedule.
Yeah.
We might be on a similar schedule. I want mine done this year. It's on a good trajectory. But if other ideas come up, and I've got to put a leash on myself. You can't have too many ideas.
Yeah. Some of the I find with ideas, it's like you'll have a really good idea, and I'll go, that's a great idea, but it's not until I have 2 or 3 additional ideas that are tacked onto that idea that it's like it grips you and you have to write it.
Yeah.
Like you're saying with your alien one, it's like you'd have a post-apocalyptic. Okay, there's like an idea, but like, what if like the aliens like win, and what's the civilization like then? And then you add third ideas, and it kind of makes it really like nuanced, and there's a lot of depth to the structure of the idea. Yeah, those are the ideas I love.
And then I built a map, and then I
so
a world
with maps. I was thinking actually, with this book, I was thinking, I've got 2 ideas. Either I include like 15 maps, right? Because I was on a podcast the other day, and like one of the only he'd look me up and stuff. And he's like, I heard you don't like maps, and then I had to fully explain. I mean, no, I don't not like maps.
What podcast was it?
It was some Okie dude. He's on YouTube. His name's some Okie dude. He does interviews with lots of writers and readers and stuff.
So he obviously prepped.
Yeah,
watching one of ours.
He hasn't uploaded it yet. So when he does upload it, I'll send it to you. And awesome. He asked me about it. But basically, I was like, look, I love fantasy maps. I actually love them. It's the question was about world building. I can't remember who the author was. Isn't he Victorian? The guy that you asked, Blood of the Eagle. Is that the guy who wrote? You're asking about world building because he does a lot of intense world building, and I do have maps, and I it's just whether or not I think it's that thing of like people being rigid on what is expected. I feel sometimes that when someone has an expectation, like you must do this, a big part of me is like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like I'll almost do the opposite of that, just to spite you a little bit. So with the fantasy maps thing, I was like, no, like let's not put a map in. Let's see what happens. Like, and okay, so one idea is I'm like, we'll stuff you. I'm going to throw 15 maps in. I'm going to there's a bit where like he's I'm going to throw maps in of cities that he doesn't even visit in the story. Like, here's a map that's completely irrelevant that you don't need.
Yeah.
Or second to that, I was thinking, what if I get like 10 reviewers to just draw their own map? I'm like, all right, can you draw a map of what you think the world looks like? And then I'll include all 10 of them and make them all canon.
I challenge you to write a book called Maps.
Yeah. Or I'll do like I'll do one of those blank books on Amazon where it's like I'll be like, because the world's called Sahul, so I'll be like, maps of Sahul, and it's just a blank like notebook. You just draw your own. Yeah. So either of those two ideas I'd be fine with.
Awesome.
But like there's a bit where he's in bed with a young woman, and I was thinking, oh, I'll include the map of her bedroom as a map, or the map of the tavern that he gets drunk in for one scene. Like I'll just include an entire detailed map of like where the mugs are and all of that.
Like, what do they
Just to
call it?
spite
Like,
you.
what do they call it? The government, when you have like your house plan, the house plan. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'll show the drainage systems of like the inn and the city. I'll show the plumbing, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one other thing I was going to say about maps is I've always found, to be honest, a glossary to be more helpful than a map. I think that's one of the
Really?
things. So because you see all this jargon, fantasy jargon or sci-fi jargon. I'm like, what the hell does that word mean? Flipping to a glossary I found more helpful than going back to a map. That's a little aside, but yeah, definitely. I'll put the plumbing in, and I'll put all that in. I might even put like a list of like emergency contacts and stuff for like the world. Yeah. Dude, it sparked something. I'm just gonna go completely anal with my my world building now, and the stuff. The problem is now because I've condensed it to one volume. It's I'm running the risk of like because self-publishing. It's you've only got like 830 pages or something. You have a limit on how big the book can be. So if I use up too many on these stupid map idea, doing a joke.
Well, you can always put some in and then go for more, find it out, and put it on your website, or
just disperse them throughout the book.
Yeah, or release a little almost like a novella, but it's just all the maps.
Yeah, I might do that. Yeah, but that's my map talk.
Or get an actual map printout made and tuck it in the
Yeah. So so I'm hoping to get it. Like I'm halfway there, and it's getting. I think, it's also this idea of condensing it. It's because it's been playing in the back of my mind for so long. The moment I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I've had this sudden rush of like, oh, this makes sense. I'm just going to write the rest of the story now, and I'm like almost getting through it. Whereas I was like stagnating for a little bit, being like, I guess like arbitrarily making a trilogy just because the convention says you have to. So now that I've kind of come out as someone who's going to write a single standalone volume, it's quite freeing.
Wonderful.
Yeah. What are you working on, Ryan?
Oh, just living the dream. No,
he's not a writer.
I'm working on my backlog of video games at the moment, which is good. But I'm not a writer myself. I'm more of a reader.
Yeah.
I devour books. I could read. I read Jamie's first Bucks Night book in, I think, 2.5 hours.
Mate,
not the whole trilogy, but the first one.
The first, but the first one's only like 20,000 words or something.
Yeah,
still, that's so good that like I can never keep focus that long, even before having a kid. Trying to keep focus. That I love people like that because you're the people that we need. Because there's a meme that goes around sometimes. It's like because it takes a writer, it'll take them like a year or two to write this book, maybe, but it'll take someone like you a day to read it, and you go.
I'm one of those people, and because I grew up reading comics and playing video games, I'm one of those people who, if I like something, I will literally go into that world. I'll be, say for example, I'll be sitting in my chair at home reading, and my wife will call out to me like 5 times, and I won't budge because I'm literally in the world of the book. And nothing can pull me out. You know what I mean? I'm one of those kind of people who I can tune everything else out and just delve into that world. Like the amount of times while I've been in the hospital where I've had my headphones on, I'm playing a game, and a nurse will literally be by my side waving, and I just don't see them because I'm that engrossed into. I'm in that world. I literally am, and the same with when I'm reading. I just get so much enjoyment out of reading that it's a massive part of my day every day, and I'm using the time while I'm not working to read and take in as much as I possibly can. So I absolutely love it.
And he literally is in Bucks Night, you know, just like.
I
Sorry?
haven't read it yet.
And you are literally in Bucks Night.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Not as much as I'd like to be, but I am in it.
Hey, at least I went out of the way to make you an addition.
Is he a zombie?
No.
Oh, okay.
But no, if there's a book that I like, I will devour it. I will, if it's not a fantasy novel, which is, as you say, 300,000, 200,000 words, I will legit read it in one sitting.
Wow.
Like that's what I like about David Eddings' books. Is he probably could have done a trilogy, but he broke his books up into 5 different. Especially the Belgariad. It's I think say 400 or 500 pages for the book. So for me, I can read that in pretty much one sitting if I just do nothing but read all day. I love books like that where I can just literally read it from start to finish and not feel like I've got to read. You know what I mean? Like I devour that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not a chore. You're immersed in it. That's
Yeah.
Try, and I think I did a little reel the other day talking about it because since making this Instagram account and being on this whole Bookstagram thing, you get sent arcs or there's a lot of I guess there's a lot of like FOMO with like books you haven't read and you feel like there's pressure you have to read X, Y, and Z. And I'm trying to get back to just reading one book at a time because I used to do that, and I'd be completely immersed in that one book. But then it got to the point where I got a little bit like, oh, I might read a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then all of a sudden I'm reading like 8 books at a time and I'm completely overwhelmed. So I'd love to get back to just one book at a time and hopefully get to something where you get immersed. Because... Yeah,
I won't read any more than one book at a time. Like I might read one book and be reading some comics, because I read comics every week that come out every week. But I will always make sure that I'm literally just reading one book. And I used to do the same video games. I used to play like 4 different games at a time. And then I think meeting Jamie and working on that, I now literally, until I finish one game, I will not start the next. Like at the moment, I just played through the Jedi Fallen Order, finished that, Jedi Survivor, finished that, then went back to God of War Ragnarok. Again, finish that and then move on to my next one. So I do that the same with books. I will literally just read one book at a time, and that way I feel like it's got my full attention. But I do have that as well. Like I have so many books on my list and so many books on my tablet that I need to read, but I just have to force myself to go, no, it's not fair to this book if you divert your focus to this book. Finish this one, and then you can move on to that one. So it's taken a lot of years to train myself to do that, but now that I have to
retrain myself to be monogamous. I think I've gotten too polyamorous with my books, and I'm just all over everything. So I've got to knuckle down and get back to the book I'm married to.
You'll find you get so much more excitement and so much more out of it when you're just engrossed in one book. You know what I mean? Like, I was lucky. We got to read Lord of the Rings at school, so that was my first introduction to Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. We had a really good English teacher, which said that we managed to get a part of the syllabus, so we got to read the Lord of the Rings through high school, and that was amazing. So I guess that's where my love of fantasy comes from. But I find when I'm reading fantasy, I have to just stick to that one book because otherwise, because a lot of fantasy novels, the worlds are kind of the same races, just different spins on those races and those stories. I will get too confused if I'm reading a few different fantasy books at one time. So I will just stick to the one series, and once I get through that, then I can move on to the next one. I figure, I used to, as you say, have, I've got all these books. I've only got a certain amount of time to read, but I've got the rest of my life to read. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. That's how I've had to train my mind to go. Okay, you need to just focus on this series at the moment.
That's my goal this year. So I've now got a model I can aspire to be. I know it can be done.
Yeah, no, it can. It takes a lot. Like it took me years to program myself, but once I did, as I said, I just get so much more enjoyment out of the stories because I'm not swapping and changing every night. You know what I mean?
Then you won't confuse them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, I probably read one book a year. I'm such a slow reader. You know.
Really?
Yeah. And some guy reached out to do a review swap.
Yeah.
I got his book, and I'm like half thinking, like, now do I just model my review off what other people have said, so I don't have to finish
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. But ChatGPT would have to know the book.
Yeah, no. So you type the blurb or something into it.
Yeah,
Like,
right,
the rough. It's about this. It'll come up with some crazy stuff.
yeah, it would.
Yeah.
No, but like, yeah.
But that's
like,
why I'm a good review person. Like Rebecca Cassells given me her stuff to read. Like Jack Roney gave me his trilogy before it all came out. Like, and I devour it. You know what I mean? Like
he's really good though.
Yeah. I absolutely love. Like when people ask, do you want to review? I'm like, yes, please, because I will especially at the moment while I'm not working, I will literally, if I like it, I'll absolutely devour it.
Yeah. Got to get into that.
Yeah. Trying to stretch it out here for a little bit,
Oh, because we're trying to beat the Martin Kearns one. I was going to say though, even though you read like one book a year, so the other day, so a lot of my earlier stuff, I'll write horror short stories. You know, I was sitting watching Scooby Doo with my son once, and Daphne mentioned something about getting your brains eaten, and I was like, oh, imagine like your child, like you woke up in the middle of the night and your child had eaten your partner's brains, like, oh, and then immediately I had to write this short story, right? So I've written all these short stories, these horror short stories. But the guy the other day sort of asked, like, what horror novels do you read? And I was thinking, like, I read, like, Stephen King's obviously one of them, but like Clive Barker, but I don't really read that many, right? It's mostly movies. And I think, like, there's like an expectation, because you're a writer, that you read a lot, and obviously reading's really great, like you should, Jamie. But it's also like you are like soaking in like story structure and all of these things all the time. So, like you say, like the inspiration for your Encore was a game. Like it wasn't like you read a book and you were so inspired that you wrote a book. So I think sometimes broadening the horizons of like where are you getting your ideas and where is all this stuff coming from. And films and things like that are such a or even just like a reel coming up. Sometimes a reel will come up and I'll be like, oh, that like sparks some idea that because the way we like consume media has changed so much.
But I think the good thing about books is that it will expand your vocabulary.
Absolutely.
And think of things very descriptively,
and seeing how, because I'm going to try and stop this year, but I usually listen to so many audiobooks and they're fantastic, but you don't see the way that the words are written, like the way that it's structured, or and it's so interesting. Like I'll listen to an audiobook and then I'll go and grab the book and I'll look at it. I'm like, oh, that's not how I thought it looked, which I know sounds really weird, but the way that the paragraphs are structured and the way that it's all put together. And it's interesting too, because I used to play in bands, right? And we were going to lay down a solo once on this song, and I think we'd just been working at it so much that every solo we were doing sounded crap. I was like, oh, this sucks. So we put on Aqualung by Jethro Tull.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, that's a fantastic solo, and it turns out the solo was like pretty average. It was like the song itself that built the solo. It's like the solo exists, but it's because it's in the context of the song that it's a really good solo. And I've just lost my train of thought, but it was like, where were we at?
Forgot.
Where was I? I was just saying something. No, sorry, I just went. But it's I don't know. It's a thing of no, I've completely lost my train of thought.
We're talking about vocabulary and
words. Right. Vocabulary, words, paragraph. Yes. And so sometimes it'll be good to open up a book. This is where I was getting at. And see, like a paragraph needs to be, there's an idea in this paragraph, and the next idea is a paragraph, and the next idea. But sometimes I'll be reading a book, and I'm like, actually, this person just merged two complete, like that. Technically, that should be two different paragraphs. So it's interesting to seeing how people write. That's why I mentioned the solo thing, because we were just like, were blown away that this solo could be so not average, but it was just like, oh, that's just a regular solo. But because of the context of the song, it was interesting. And the same with the book. It's like, that's a really average paragraph, but within the context of the book, that really works.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at. Anyway.
Yeah. Cool thought. Yeah. No, I certainly have my own sort of style. I feel like I can get rhythm, like a bit of rhythm in certain paragraphs and certain things. It's just like, it probably comes from the fact that I too played in bands, writing songs since I was 12. I kind of like that. I don't write things that rhyme necessarily, but but, like, I have a rhythm to.
I was thinking as well with music, it's like the other week I was thinking about it, where like, so when you're playing in a band and you write a song, like you and your mates will get together, you write a song, and you kind of, because you know your instrument and stuff, you write the song, and it might not be the greatest song in the world, but it's like the song's written and no one really critiques it and edits it. Like it's just, that's the song.
Yeah.
But when it comes to writing, it's like we feel the need to really rigidly critique it and strip it apart and cut it apart and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about like those pulp writers, those early pulp writers, where they'd kind of just do. I still like get editors and stuff. I edit, but it's like they would do like one draft writes. They just do one draft and it is what it is. Like, and they send it out, and if it makes it, it makes it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So, like with regards to music, it's a little bit like when you're playing in a band. You would just kind of jam it out, and then you're like, "Yep, that sounds like really good. Like we've jammed it enough," and then you go and perform it. But
but that's punk rock, man. That's punk rock.
Yeah, and it works. Like it's the vibe. It works. Yeah. What are we at? What are we at for time?
We've got 15 minutes left until Ryan gets a knock on the door.
All right. So
and they're literally like spot on. I'm surprised I haven't knocked on the door yet, to be honest with you.
So
it's like 11:15.
Can you go to the door when they come and just boo, scare them? And it'll be like live on camera too.
Oh, look, the amount of days that I don't get bothered between 8:30 and midday, but every time we seem to record an episode, someone will knock on the door or come in, or like I've got some polite people who will knock on the door, but some will just open the door and just start walking in, and I have to go, oh, bugger off.
Those people that knock and open the doors at the same time,
Yeah, because they're like, I'm polite, but I'm still nosy.
That's like those kids that put their hand up and start talking. Like kids do it all the time. They're like, I was thinking, and then you're like, no, you put your hand up, and then I'm like, yes, what were you going to say? Yeah. Do you guys ever have to go to like toilet breaks? This is because last time I was on here, it was my first ever podcast. And I was not terrified, but I was like, oh man, what if I need to go to the toilet? Like, how do I let him know that I need to go?
Yeah. We've never really come across that, but sometimes, like I think with the other one with Chris and that, he'll just send a message in the chat down the bottom and go, gotta poop, and then disappear, and then come back, and then a few times. But no, I feel like we're very chill. So if you ever have to pee, then no worries, because were you thinking of that? That's a way to stretch it out, were you?
I'll be back, guys. Yeah, no. It's
not live. It's not live, so it doesn't,
Oh yeah, you just edit.
Yeah, Jamie can pretty much edit anything out anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but because we're trying to make time, this whole conversation's left in, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it.
What if you do the what if you just slow the podcast down to like 1 point, like 0.8 speed or something?
I could just throw in a whole lot of ads,
Or if Jamie wants to be a real prick, he'll just like edit it so it's 1 minute less than Kernsy's episode.
Yeah.
Just so you could say.
Well, yeah. Look, I don't know. Well, I need to figure out what the longest actually is. On the other one, I think our Star Wars episode went for a long time, but like as per interview, it's like it encroaches around 2 hours. I can't remember exactly. I think Martin Kearns may even be 1 hour 45 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think last guest was longer.
Yeah, you mentioned something. There was a thing the other day that you mentioned about her being longer. I haven't actually listened to that full episode yet. I've only seen the clips that you.
Yeah, it was a great chat. Like, I always love talking to Americans and telling them about our wildlife and how everything is literally trying to kill you.
Yeah, but we love it.
I always love it when the Americans go, oh, we ask what's on your bucket list, and they're like, oh, I want to come to Australia. Well, we'll change that for you. And we just list off all the dangerous animals that will kill you. And you know, like last time we were talking about snakes, and you think, oh, they're only in rural areas. No, not anymore. They're in the suburbs. I just saw a post on Facebook this morning. There was a red-bellied black snake in Quakers Hill. Someone posted it on the Facebook page in Quakers Hill, which is like a very suburb area around where I live. And, they posted, be careful when you're walking your dogs, and it was 2 red-bellied black snakes together. I thought, wow, they're encroaching. They're getting more and more. The more we build, the more land we build on, the more they're going to encroach into residential areas.
I had 2 posts, like memories on Facebook that popped up this week. One was a diamond python eating a possum, which is just 500 meters from where I am. Just in a tree and just like picking up this possum. And the other one was that time a few years ago when someone was driving out of Melbourne and is tapping on the window and there's a red belly wrapped around his side mirror trying to get in. And it'd crawl under his car to get some nice warmth in the winter, and they went, "Hey, buddy," huge one.
I cannot, like, snakes I can sort of deal with, like I've held snakes before and stuff, but anything spider related, seriously, it was just crazy. I say this all the time. Spider-Man is my second favorite comic book hero, but I cannot stand anything spiders related. Like I can't even watch them on the screen. I can't even, I recently went and saw Kraven the Hunter, and there was a scene where it's not really spoiling anything, but like it's kind of like Scarecrow's fear gas kind of thing. One of the villain kind of has that, and like all these spiders start coming down, and they clearly look like the Spider-Man symbol, which was a symbolism because Kraven and Spider-Man, but even just they look like no spider I'd ever seen. I had to look away. And you could tell they were clearly CGI. And I was just like, no, I can't. Like even in even the big spider in Lord of the Rings, the movie, I cannot.
Shelob,
I cannot.
That's really interesting because, like, I was playing maybe last week that I was playing Hogwarts Legacy.
I've been told about that.
Yeah, and I had never I'd seen content warnings before, for whatever, but in the settings I was going down, and you could change your brightness and your contrast and all these things. But then down the bottom it's like you can change all the spiders to other creatures, whatever, like rats or something.
The arachnophobia mode.
Yeah, it's got arachnophobia mode, and I'd never seen it before. And then I was like, oh, I didn't know that like arachnophobia was that big a thing. And then it was literally a couple of days after that, I was listening to a podcast, and about halfway through, they had like a little content warning because they're like, "Hey guys, we're about to talk about spiders, so you might want to skip." And I'd literally, like, in 1 week, I'd had 2 like ads, or I'd seen 2 content warnings for spiders, which I'd never seen before.
Yeah, well, because I was talking to Chris, our friend Chris, about because he bought Hogwarts Legacy and he was playing it, and I was really interested in playing it. This was before the arachnophobia mode came in. And he knows how much I hate spiders, and I said, "Oh, is it good? Like, I'm going to buy it." And he's like, "I probably wouldn't because of the amount of actual spiders in the game." Because he knows that even if they're CGI or whatever, I can't deal with it. And he's like, "Honestly, like I would recommend you not playing it." And I still haven't played it because of that. And then I heard recently they put in the arachnophobia mode, so it's kind of leaning towards me wanting to play it now, because I love the Harry Potter universe and everything. So I was like, I really want to play it, but I couldn't because apparently there's a lot of freaking spiders in that.
I haven't played enough of it to get up to any spiders. Like I've just been every so often just like a little bit just playing around on it. So I haven't gotten up to a bit. I mean, maybe there's like later in the game there's just this intense spider moment, and I wonder what they replace them with. I don't know.
Well, obviously enough people were affected by it for them to put in that arachnophobia mode.
That's cool.
I suppose a lot of people, spiders are a lot of people's fears. That's the only thing I'm ever scared of. Like I'm in a wheelchair at the moment. I would jump out of a plane in my wheelchair and not be phased. But if there was a spider like this big crawling up my wall, I would literally either freak out or I'd just punch it and break my hand on the concrete wall.
How are you with like other bugs like cockroaches and?
Oh, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was the killer of all bugs at our house when I was living at home, and except for spiders, I had to get my wife to kill all the spiders. I was like, I just cannot deal with spiders, you know. And then because she's very she's got a really good sense of humor. She would pretend to catch them and try and throw them, and then I'd scream like a little girl. So, but yeah, she couldn't stand cockroaches or anything like that. But spiders, she could literally pick up a spider and have it crawl on her hand and not worry. But yeah, I can deal with other bugs, even the big ass cockroaches like those, you know, the
bush
African ones and stuff like that. Does not bother me.
Yeah, see, I'm more grossed out. I guess not super grossed out, but certain bugs like certain beetles and stuff. But for me, a spider's like not a pet, but I would prefer a spider. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that I get that. Like even centipedes and stuff do not faze me. Like centipedes, any kind of bugs. Like we've had stick insects in our house that I've just literally picked up and taken out. But yeah, as I said, you give me a spider, any kind of spider, like even a daddy long legs, and I'll freak out. I cannot deal with it. I literally will go in another room and lock myself in that room until the spider is dead or gone.
Yeah. What's that on the wall behind you?
Sorry?
What's that on the wall behind you?
There's a mirror.
I'm joking. It was spider.
No,
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
It was good. I've got a couple of spiders behind me.
I've just lost a lot of respect for you then, man, because I was like, oh, he's a nice guy, just asking about, what's in my room. I was like, don't you fucking dare part of my friend.
I'm only joking.
You will see, like, I'm pretty fast on my wheelchair at the moment. You will see me literally, like, it'll be a Ryan-shaped cutout on the wall, like in the cartoon.
Straight through the door.
Yeah. Definitely.
Only place I can't deal with spiders is my car.
Yeah.
If it's night and there's a spider, I'm going like, is it inside? Is it outside? What is it doing?
Well, I had a friend of mine who literally, she was driving home in the day and she pulled down her visor and a huntsman dropped into her lap. She literally rolled a car, like she rode a car off, because a huntsman literally dropped down from above onto her lap. And she was in the car by herself, and she swerved, and the car rolled. She's okay.
Oh wow!
But yeah, she rode off the car just because that huntsman. We never let her live it down, but yeah, I don't know. I've never, like, I've always had. If there's been a spider in my car, I've always seen it before I've gotten in, or I've gotten in and I've seen it and I've jumped straight back out. Like, I've never been driving, touch wood, and had one or appear. Like, I remember when I was coming back I went to New Zealand with my dad about 12 years ago. We went for 3 weeks and he parked his work ute in the airport, and we got back and we were driving home just talking, and we were on the M5 and I literally saw a huntsman on his visor. I said, you need to pull the fuck over right now. My dad doesn't care. He would just leave it there. But I said, you need to pull over. I jumped out of the car and he's like, what? And I said, there's a huntsman on your visor. And I said, I'm not getting back into I literally will walk home from the airport. And he caught it and let it go. I was like, okay, I'll get back in. He showed it to me. Like, I saw it run off. But yeah, I will literally jump. If I saw one and I was driving, I would probably have an accident.
I had a huntsman on my knee once. I was driving, but it was one of those bush roads where you can't pull over. It's just everything's so tight.
Oh, wow.
So I had to drive for maybe 5-10 minutes of just like basically staring at the spider. Like, I know it wasn't going to do anything, but it's the fact that, there's a full huntsman on my leg. I'm like, oh, mate. Yeah.
There you go. Knock at the door.
All right.
All right.
Well, plug yourself, Ainy. Where can people buy your books? Where can they stalk you?
Mostly Amazon. Actually, to be honest, I'm on most online books. I go through.
Amazon. I've got all your short stories, and because I was on the website now. Yeah. So it's got all of them, all the short stories, and
the novella is so they're on Amazon. They're also on, if you have Kobo, any of those as well. So I've got all of basically any online, like Barnes and Noble, everything. So I've gone wide, not just through Amazon. Ainy Cormac on Instagram is the best handle to get to. I do have a website, and it's still not great, so I would just go through the Instagram because I just this website's like, whatever. But yeah, no, this book will hopefully be finished soon and coming out, and hopefully I'll jump back on with you guys and talk about it when it comes out.
Oh, you sound like you want to be as cool as Martin Kearns.
Oh yeah, my idol.
We can call you Aussie Kearns.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, guys, you know the deal. thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com if you want to reach out. If you're an author, we love to support you guys, so reach out. All our socials are down below. Check out Rebecca Cassells and Martin Kearns. Make sure you check out Ainy Cormac too, and maybe next time we'll have another Ainy Cormac question, to create. But
yeah. So I didn't say anything too controversial this time that I know of.
No, well, this was kind of a throw it together episode, so
Yeah.
last minute. We do thank Ainy for jumping in last minute as we had to reschedule with another
Anytime.
guest.
Anytime.
Anytime. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.
See ya.
In 1932, the Australian Army declared war on 20,000 emus and lost. It's a part of Australian history that not many know about. Maybe that's because history is written by those who win. So if you want to hear the full story of the Great Emu War of 1932, then check out my book, Letters from the Emu War. Read letters, newspaper articles, and journal entries. With every turn of the page, you will gain a deeper understanding of the life and times of emus at war. So head on over to jabryden.com and grab a signed copy today.